So, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. At Ista, our mission is the reduction of product damage through transportation. We do that by effectively designing packaging. That process of having, or the process of designing packaging effectively is heavily reliant on testing, and testing that is built off of research. And so today I want to share with you what is happening within ISTA's, bring the mic up. Yeah, all right. Thank you. Better? Is it on? Hello? No? Hello? Hello? Okay. There we go. All right. So, quick recap for those who didn't hear in the back. But at ISTA, our mission is to help people reduce product damage during distribution or during shipment. And we do that, or we enable that through effective packaging design. Part of designing packaging effectively is having tools such as test procedures that are based in research. And so today I want to share with you what ISTA is doing with regard to research, as well as how we take that research and translate it into test procedures that you can use to evaluate the performance of your packaging system to ensure that you've effectively designed it to reduce product damage. So here are the things that I'm going to share with you today. Again, we're going to talk about the research that's going on, how ISTA has 3 different categories of research that we do, and then give you some brief summaries of the research that has been done so that you can understand the quality of research that we're doing and what types of research that we're doing. And then I want to transition into talking about how we make test standards from that research, as well as talk about a couple other tools that ISTA has in the works to further allow you to understand the performance of your package and more efficiently utilize test standards. Wrong way. Okay, so research within ISTA is broken into 3 different categories. The first is directly funded research. So what that is ISTA's membership dollars applied towards research. And so I'll go and talk a little bit further about what we're doing in this area throughout the next couple slides. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about the other 2 areas, which is a consortium, which is a group of companies who've pooled their money to do research of things that are of interest to them, but of ultimate benefit to ISTA. And the last is the Educational Foundation, which is enabling research at the university and the undergraduate level. So the directly funded research, we have several different things that are happening. But one of the projects that just recently completed was within Europe. So we did multiple routes, but we captured vibration, shock, temperature, and humidity data within these different routes. And here's a slide that shows you a little bit more about what the routes were, where the recorders went. And we put these recorders within trains, trucks, and boats. So we captured all those different types of modes. You'll see also here the partners that we worked with to capture those routes. So these are product manufacturers that allowed us to put their data recorders in their vehicles so that we could get this information. This is just a brief summary of the European results. What you see here on the left is one route and this is showing the different types of data and the output. Ultimately, what is most insightful from this information is that during the ocean portion of the trip, not much is happening. It's very low intensity. Most of the forces are occurring at the port or when it's on the truck. So that's really key to understand. One of the most common questions that we receive at ISTA is what happens when my package is at sea or on the boat? And so you'll see with this information that not much is happening on the sea. And you'll see in the next couple pieces of research as well, it reaffirms that understanding that not much is happening while on the ocean. The other research that is just completed, the final report will be coming to us shortly, but we went out and collected vibration, shock, temperature, and humidity data within China, much like what we did in Europe. We captured data within each of these regions and data between the regions. So this just kind of gives you a visual understanding of where we collected the data. And again, just wanted to give you a brief summary of, or just show you a glimpse of what that data is telling us. Again, the full report is coming, and we'll dive into that. But what you'll see here is there are a lot of shock events happening when that sea container is being handled in the yard and loaded. Upwards of 30 Gs were recorded from that container being handled. But again, once it was on the ocean, that journey was very calm. Another piece of research that's being done with ISTA directly funded is a collaboration with IBM where we're looking at ocean data. And we're collecting, again, shock, vibration, and temperature and humidity data for these sea journeys, because that question of what happens while my package is on a boat comes up very, very often. So this is a visual representation of the journey. So you can see that it starts in the United States and goes into Europe, and then on the road once within Europe. It does include truck and rail, so we will have that information, but our primary focus is what happens on the ocean. Ultimately, we want to take all these different segments and link them together so that you have an ability to create a test plan that follows the path of your package wherever it goes throughout the globe. And we seem to be stuck here, so hang with me while there we go. So like in the other slides with the Europe and the China data, I wanted to show you not only the journey, so look at the map, but give you an understanding of what the summary results of that is. And so this is really showing you again, that it's very calm on the ocean, but once it is received at the port and handled at the port, that we have a lot of intensity happening and a lot of spikes in the data. So it's something that we need to look into further and better understand and create a test procedure that accounts for these types of hazards that are out there. This project that we're doing with the ocean data is in collaboration with IBM, which is a great example of how ISTA is working with product manufacturers to gain access into those journeys. And it brings a benefit to those companies because they have access to this data early. So if you have interest in working with ISTA to look at the routes that you have, please reach out to us. and we can talk further about that collaboration. But IBM has been a great partner in this and in enabling us to apply our data recorders to those sea containers, capture that information, and help answer those questions that are coming up very frequent. So that's directly funded research from ISTA. ISTA also has a consortium, which is a group of companies who pooled their money together to do research on topics that are of interest to them, but again, as I said, is of ultimate value to ISTA and its members. This here shows the companies that are involved in that consortium. They originally outlined a handful of different research projects. They co-funded the China project with ISTA. They did a very large project to look at the parcel network, the single parcel network within the US, shock and drop data. They also assisted with research for e-commerce, and I'll talk more about that research later on. But these are, here on the left, some of the projects that were originally identified by the consortium, but they want to do more work. They have more money to spend because through all of this work, right, ISTA has spent $1.5 million on research because we feel it's the foundation of what testing procedures and other resources should be based on. And so we're making this large investment. And so we want to continue to invest in research. The advocate group has identified e-commerce, the less than truckload environment, including final mile. Brazil is on the list of places to go capture data. And lastly, we want to look at international parcel shipments. So I said a minute ago that we did a big study on the parcel network within the US, so North America, but we want to look at those further parcel journeys, so those individual packages that are traveling around the globe. We want to understand that network better. So that is the consortium. The last group of research is the Educational Foundation. This is really targeted towards universities and the furtherance of sharing out knowledge on distribution dynamics. One of the focuses of the Educational Foundation is to provide undergrad students with money to do research, to help encourage research in the distribution environment, to further grow the knowledge and interest in this space, because we need to begin to train the next generation of packaging designers. So that's the research that's happening. Again, big investment by ISTA within the research, but it doesn't stop there. We take this research and we need to translate it into test standards so that you have something to use to evaluate your packaging. And so I want to talk about the test standards and what is going on within the Standards Council, which is a volunteer group within ISTA that has the sole responsibility of maintaining and developing test standards. This here is a short list of projects that they're currently working on. And I'll go into a detail on a couple of these, but I wanted to at least give you an understanding of the different topics that they're working on. And some of these are new test procedures, and some of these are looking at potential changes to existing test procedures. So one of the research projects that was completed a couple years ago that I hadn't talked about in the research portion of this slide or this deck is research that was conducted in India. That information led to a draft test procedure being created, and that draft test procedure needs to be validated. So we went out and found a couple partners that had products that are currently shipping within the India market. We had them run the test to see if the test yielded the same results as what they're seeing in the field. This was a small sample set, and we want to have a larger sample set to ensure that that translation from raw data to test procedure is correct. So what I would ask of you as the audience is if you do business in India, or you know someone who works in India, please reach out. We're definitely looking for collaboration with different partners in that area to ensure that this test procedure is correct before we publish it broadly to the industry. It's part of the diligence that ISTA does in the creation of testing procedures. Not only do we do the research, but we confirm that those test procedures are working correctly. And I'll talk further about that in a minute when we talk about the e-commerce test that was recently published. So as I said, we did research within Europe, and we captured that on vibration and shock, temperature and humidity data. And so we have this great big set of information that the Standards Council is now going through and beginning the analyze process to understand if a unique test needs to be built for Europe. Preliminary shows that it is close to the information that we've previously captured within North America, but there are some slight differences. And so through this analysis and an investigation of the raw data will help us know what test needs to be created and to what is the appropriate intensity level of that test. So one test that, or one piece of the research that has been published into a test is this e-commerce test procedure called 3L. E-commerce is certainly a very big topic, much like sustainability. E-commerce is something that is asked of ISTA often, of what do I do for the e-commerce market? And so we wanted to provide to the industry a test procedure that works regardless of who you may be selling through. So it doesn't matter the retailer. We wanted to have a test procedure that allowed you to evaluate your packaging and understand if I give this product to any retailer, that it's going to make it to my customer with the least amount of damage possible. And so I think this is a really good example to go a little bit further into explaining how we took that data and made a test procedure. As part of that understanding, I think that there's kind of three different questions that need to be asked. Why was the test made? How was it made? And really, what is within the test? So the why. I told you just a little bit about that earlier, and that's the unified retail approach, right? Having one test. If you don't know where you're starting or where you're going to sell, this is where you start. You use this test. This test is really to help address this ever-growing market of e-commerce. We know that it is something that is not going away, and that there's a lot of people that have difficulty in this market, so there's high damage rates. And so if we can offer a tool that allows you to redesign your packaging, evaluate that packaging using this test and understand, is it going to provide you a better outcome, is part of the why we developed this test. So that was the why, but really how did we do this? So ISTA is a consensus body standards developing organization, which means we bring in a lot of different people into the conversation to ensure that we're accounting for all the different products, that we have all the different perspectives, so that the testing is based on a collective of voices. So we take this research, we translate it into a test procedure, and once we have that test procedure drafted, we make a call to the industry to say, come review this with us, give us your input. So with this, we had nearly 50 different companies come in and share their thoughts on what this test procedure was looking like and their experiences, which is very valuable input. We made adjustments to the test based upon some of this information. And then lastly, like I shared with the India test, we wanted to go and get product that was having a lot of damage and the same product that was having less damage through lab correlation and ensure that the testing intensity matched the real world. When we develop a test at ISTA, we don't want every product to fail the test, but we don't want every product to pass the test as well. So for example, we went out and we got dishes, plates, from one company that was having a lot of damages, and we got dishes from another company that was having very little damage. We ran them both through 3L, through this test. The product that was having little damage in the field passed the test, and the product that was having a lot of damages in the field failed the test. And the failure within the test was the same type of damage seen in the field, which helped verify or validate the testing that it is working well. And we have great confidence within the test. And so we did that work, not only with dishes, but home electronics, home decor, toys, collectibles, and a few other products. So we did a variety of goods, really to ensure that the test is going to work appropriately. And then lastly, once we've done all that work, we take it to our consensus body to get one last round of input to ensure that we haven't forgotten anything. So that is how we made it, but we get a lot of questions about what's in this e-commerce test and how is it different than, say, the ISTA 6 Amazon.com-SIOC, or ships in own container. Well, as part of the development process, we leveraged that testing procedure. And so what you see within the test is a lot of similarities from the SIOC test. Because as part of the research stuff, and I didn't elaborate on this earlier, but part of the research was to go into multiple different e-commerce retailers and look at their facilities and understand the flow so that we could compare and contrast. And so we took that information and compared it and contrasted it against the Amazon environment and determined these environments are pretty similar. They're all using the same type of conveyors. They're all using clamping. They're all using similar outbound delivery methods. So again, what is in the test? Well, a lot of the SIOC elements. In addition, it's critical to know what the test is trying to account for and what it is not trying to account for. So this 3L e-commerce test is once the package is received by an e-retailer through to the end consumer. It is not that journey from manufacturing to the fulfillment facility. And so that's really important to understand what it is and what it is not. ISTA does have test procedures that could be done in addition to the e-commerce test, should you want to account for that inbound journey. But really, we think that there's some significant challenges with that journey once it's received by the e-commerce retailer. There's a lot of clamping that happens, the handling, the warehousing, the storage, the picking, and then the delivery through the parcel system or through the less than truckload system accounts for a vast majority of the hazards that exist. And so that's why that test really focuses on that journey. So that's a snapshot into the Standards Council's work, the group that is responsible for the development and maintenance of testing standards, and an understanding of how those things came to be. But there is additional work within ISTA's Certification Council that goes beyond the test procedures. And so I want to give you just a couple slides on some of that work so you can see what else is happening and what other resources are available for you from ISTA. So as AJ said this morning, and Matt Daum also alluded to this as well, that packaging is often looked at as something that is bad, something that is waste and is a villain. We know that in order to change that perception, we need to help educate the consumer. And so ISTA is providing you an opportunity to help inform your customer of all the hard work that you're doing. Going through the process of designing the packaging, testing the packaging to the most current standards that are out there, documenting it in a very thorough way, is part of the transit-tested program. And so this seal is something that can be printed onto a pack that tells your customer that you've done all of this work. The packaging is not waste, that it's been responsibly designed, and it is there to serve a purpose. And so there's some more details on how you go about applying for this application, which I'm happy to give you those details later on. And there is some information on ISTA's website about it. But again, this is a tool to help you share with your customer the work that you're doing, that this packaging is there intentionally.
Eric, 5 minutes.
Yep, great. 2 more slides, so it's perfect timing. And then we should have time for our questions, I hope. So one other thing that is being worked on, this is very early in the development phases, but it is a post-test evaluation tool. So again, we know that a lot of hard work is being done with testing your packaging and documenting that work, but we want to create a more robust mechanism for ensuring that you're capturing all the right things after the testing is done, that you're looking at all the different aspects of the package and what that could tell you about the performance. It gives you a more granular look at that result as well versus being solely reliant on a pass-fail. So now you could have a number associated with that. So say you got a 85% on this test, you make a change to your package, and now you get a 90. Well, both are passing, but you can see that one is moving in the right direction. One is better than the other. So it's really about helping you document appropriately, but also giving you some granular details around the differences in packaging designs. So again, this is very early on and something that we're going to continue to work on, but wanted to give you an understanding that there are some other things out there besides test procedures that could help you with your design and development process. All of this work through research, test development, and certification is done by the volunteers within ISTA. So these are the folks that are within these different councils that are working to put these things forward, and so I want to give them credit for all the hard work they're doing, but also make a call to you that if these things are of interest to you and you have expertise to share, please reach out. We'd love to get you involved in any of these councils so that we can help shape the future, ensure that the tools and resources available are suiting all needs, and that we can continue to reduce product damage in the supply chain. And so with that, I conclude.